To all the skeptics in the comments, I promise this is my actual biological voice you're hearing, not an AI, it's 100% organic. I haven't had a firmware update in years. Listen up, gamers. Breaking news from the front lines of development hell. Garry Newman, the absolute legend behind Rust, has reportedly offered Amazon Games $25 million for the New World IP. Rumor has it he wants to buy the source code just to hit delete and end its suffering once and for all. This isn't a hostile takeover, it's a rescue mission. The director of Rust is basically trying to pay $25 million to be the hero we need, saving the gaming world from the endless cycle of Amazon's relaunch trauma. Let's dive into why this might be the best deal in history. New World, Aeternum. Amazon's marketing team has pivoted so hard toward the action RPG label that I'm surprised the developers don't have whiplash. They are leaning into action combat, because frankly, discussing the massively multiplayer part of the game right now is like discussing the structural integrity of the Hindenburg while it's actively touching a spark. Look, you can dodge, they scream from the rooftops. It's like Dark Souls if Dark Souls was designed by a logistics company that prioritizes shipping speed over soul. They want you to think this is a high-octane, skill-based masterpiece where every frame counts. In reality, the combat is action in the same way a toddler throwing a tantrum is action. It's a lot of loud noises, flailing limbs, and repetitive movements that ultimately lead to someone needing a nap. They've abandoned the depth of a traditional MMO because they realized they couldn't balance it, so they replaced it with a system that prioritizes feel over function. It's a shallow pool with very nice ripples. They want you to focus on the flashy sword swings so you don't notice that the quest givers are all just the same 3 character models wearing different hats and pretending they don't know each other. Garry Newman sees this. He sees the dodge, roll, stumble mechanics and recognizes a cry for help. When the director of Rust, a man who understands that true action involves being hunted by a guy with a rock for 4 hours, looks at your combat and offers to buy the IP just to put it out of its misery, you failed the fun test. Amazon is trying to sell you a combat system that feels like it was calibrated by a committee of people who have only ever played Snake on a Nokia. It's a tragedy wrapped in a god. Ray and Gary's $25 million is the only thing that can stop the madness. When Garry Newman, a man who built a global phenomenon based on the simple joy of waking up naked on a beach and being pelted with rocks, looks at your $200 million project and says, "I'll give you 8 figures to let me bury this," you've officially reached a level of failure that should be taught in business schools. This isn't Garry being a hater. He's being a veterinarian looking at a horse with 4 broken legs and a migraine. He's the saint of the sandbox, the patron of the procedural, and he's coming for Amazon's lunch money to save us from our own curiosity. For the casual viewers popping in, New World is currently the digital equivalent of a guy trying to fix a punctured lung with a live laugh love sticker. Garry knows survival. He knows how to keep a game relevant for a decade with nothing but spite and player-driven chaos. Him offering $25 million to buy the IP isn't about profit, it's about public service. He sees a game that has been on life support so long the hospital has been rebuilt around it twice. This brings us to the relaunch paradox. If you have to re-announce your game more times than a fading pop star's farewell tour, you haven't made a masterpiece. You've made an expensive boomerang that nobody wants to catch. Amazon keeps throwing it, it keeps hitting us in the forehead, and they expect us to say, "Thank you for the content." You cannot evolve a goldfish into a shark just by moving it to a bigger tank and screaming ATFK at it. Garry knows this. He wants to take that boomerang, snap it in half, and let us all go home. He's the only one with the courage to tell Jeff Bezos that sometimes delete is the most creative button on the keyboard. Imagine walking into a high-end steakhouse, ordering a medium-rare ribeye, and halfway through the meal, the waiter sprints over, snatches your plate, and insists, with a straight face, that you're actually eating a vegan Caesar salad. That is the level of psychological warfare Amazon Games is currently waging on the gaming public. They have spent 3 years telling us we were playing the World of Warcraft killer, only to realize the only thing massive about the game was the speed at which the player count hit 0. So what do? They do a tactical retreat into the action RPG genre. Calling New World an ARPG now is like calling a sinking ship a luxury submarine experience. It's a desperate attempt to lower the bar so far that even a limbo champion couldn't get under it. They spent years trying to balance an economy more volatile than a Bored Ape empty scam, and now they want you to forget the multiplayer part entirely. Why? Because there aren't enough people left on the servers to justify the middle M in MMO. It's an identity crisis that would make a chameleon sweat. One day it's a hardcore PvP survival sim. The next it's a cozy crafting paradise. And now it's a cinematic solo adventure. They're throwing spaghetti at the wall, but the wall is made of Teflon, and the spaghetti is actually just wet yarn. Garry Newman's 25 million offer is the intervention Amazon needs. He knows that a game without an identity is just a very expensive screensaver. He's offering them a way out of the lie, a chance to stop pretending that this digital Frankenstein is actually a coherent piece of art. Why bring this to PS5 and Xbox 3 years late? Is it because the game is finally perfect? Absolutely not. This is a Hail Mary pass thrown from the back of an Amazon Prime truck by a driver who's already clocked out and just wants to go home to watch Netflix. It's a quest for fresh meat. The PC community has spent years watching this game step on every rake in the garden, and Amazon has finally realized that the PC players have developed an immunity to their nonsense. We saw the gold dupes that broke the economy. We saw the bugs that turned players into literal sausages. I am not joking, that actually happened. The console launch is strictly about finding a fresh batch of unsuspecting victims who haven't been traumatized yet. It's the digital version of a traveling circus moving to the next town, because the locals in the last one realized the lion is just a golden retriever in a wig. They're hoping you'll see the 4K sunsets and ignore the fact that the soul of the game is hollower than a chocolate Easter bunny left in the sun. They've repackaged the jank, slapped a Series X sticker on it, and are praying you don't check the Steam charts. Garry Newman, being the visionary he is, sees this for what it is, a predatory expansion. His 25 million offer is an attempt to shield the console brothers and sisters from the New World experience. He's like a superhero, standing between a bus and a group of toddlers, only the bus is a buggy MMO and the toddlers have controllers. There is a specific, almost impressive kind of corporate talent required to have the budget of a small nation and still produce a product held together by expired duct tape and the hopes of 1,000 overworked interns. Amazon owns the servers that run half the internet. They have enough money to buy the concept of fun and patent it. Yet, New World feels like it was designed by a committee that only had video games described to them through a heavy door by someone who hates hobbies. Every time they fix one bug, 3 more crawl out like a Cronenberg body horror movie. We've had patches where clicking a link in chat would literally crash someone else's game. It's a masterpiece of inefficiency. They built a beautiful world. The trees look great when you're chopping them for the 10,000th time. But it's a world where physics are optional and the economy is governed by whoever found the newest way to duplicate ingots. It proves money can buy high-res textures, but it can't buy a dev team that knows how to make a social system. Garry Newman understands that games aren't built with wallets, they're built with vision. His 25 million is a drop in the bucket for Amazon, but it represents more game dev soul than the entire Aeternum project combined. He's trying to buy the IP to stop the embarrassment of a $1 trillion company failing to understand why people like to play with their friends. It's the ultimate Amazon special. Great shipping, terrible contents. Calling Aeternum new is the biggest lie told in gaming since the No Man's Sky launch trailer. They've put a fresh coat of paint on a haunted house and are inviting you in like everything is fine. Sure, the lighting engine is fantastic, got rays for days. But once you step inside, the ghosts of dead servers are still screaming in the basement. They've rebranded old content, shuffled the quests, and added a cinematic camera to make you feel like you're playing a AAA narrative masterpiece. But at its core, it's the same repetitive loop of kill 10 turkeys and open 5 crates we've been doing since 2021. It's a rainforest of visual assets masking a desert of actual things to do. If you're a casual fan, you'll have a blast for 20 hours, then you'll realize there is no hidden depth. It's a Frankenstein's monster of genres where none of the parts actually fit together. The content isn't expanding, it's just being rearranged like deck chairs on the Titanic. You can only fight the same lost zombies so many times before you start feeling lost yourself. Garry Newman's 25 million is the only thing that can break this cycle of mediocrity. He wants to delete the source code because he knows that you can't build a future on a foundation of repetitive chores. He's the hero we need to stop the content drought by simply turning off the mirage. Garry, please send the check. Save us from the turkeys.